413 teams have competed over 26 seasons in the NRL. Who is the best? Who is the worst? I'm going to break down the numbers and we're going to find out. There will be no video footage of any games in this video. I've had copyright issues with the NRL in the past with a couple of my videos. Admittedly, they were negative videos, whereas there's not really going to be anything negative in this video. So, still, I just don't want to take any chances in case they've flagged my channel and gone, nah, anything this guy does, NRL related, just hit him with that copyright. I mean, it's not a small channel, surely not. So this video is just about the numbers. It's not about, this team had those players, what years had better teams in the competition, better quality opposition. It's not about like any origin affected games, so a team didn't finish with as many wins. Those sort of things I'll factor in at the end when I give my opinion on who the best teams are. But the first part will just be a combined table of the top 50 teams out of 413. Just wins, draws, losses, for and against. Just in order. Simple as that. Then after that, I will do a combined table including all finals results. I'm going to include all teams, regardless of any point deductions or titles stripped for salary cap breaches. That will factor in when I give my opinion on who the best team is a little bit. But yeah, I'm not going to let that affect the table. Just, they played those games, they won those games. So when I say NRL, I do specifically mean the National Rugby League competition that started in 1998. Coincidentally, that was the year I started watching rugby league. Possibly I started in 97, but I definitely know the first game I went to was in 1998. So I feel like that sort of makes it convenient for when I give my opinion, because it just sort of works with the time frame of when I started watching games, and I can give, obviously I haven't watched every single game, but I've watched enough that I can give a fair opinion on what teams been good, what teams haven't been good. So I did look at the final tables and the finals results for every season dating back to 1908 when the Professional Rugby League began in Australia. Having not watched a single second of any of it, I'm not going to give my opinion on any, how good teams were player-wise or anything, but I will mention any interesting looking seasons, like undefeated teams or teams that had like a really high win-loss ratio, for example. But all I'll be doing is just mentioning them briefly. So I was going to do this all in one video. I've decided I think it's probably going to be too long, so I'm going to split it into two, possibly three. So yeah, the first part will just be that table that doesn't include finals results, which was the easiest to put together. All you had to do was just go, obviously I had to sort of put them in order and all that. It took a little bit of time. But adding the finals results, that took a bit of time, but I got there. But for that one, there's one more game to go in the 2023 season. So there's no point putting that video out until after the grand final. So it's Sunday after the Broncos Warriors game. It's going to be Panthers Broncos grand final. Two very good teams. So people probably don't really know or give it much thought, but basically for a team to get to 20 wins in a season, that's classed as a very good season. Preferably if they win the grand final, but even if you don't win the grand final, getting 20 wins is very impressive. And the Panthers and the Broncos both already have 20 wins for the 2023 season. And it will only be the fourth time in NRL history that two teams have competed in a grand final already having gotten to the 20 wins. The other ones were 2021, Panthers Rabbitohs, and 2004, Bulldogs Roosters. I do have it written down here somewhere. Let's see if I can remember it. I do know that 2012 and 2016, the 2012 Storm had to win the grand final to get to 20, and the Bulldogs already had 20. And 2016, the Storm had 20, possibly 21, and the Sharks had to win the grand final to get to 20. 2007, Manly Storm. Also, they both had at least 20 wins each going into the grand final. I didn't look that up, I remembered it. Alright, so yeah, there will be a bit of talk leading up to it. I'll put a little time reference here for anyone who just wants to skip the talk and just see the final ladder that I've compiled, and get straight to the meat of it. But otherwise, there will be another 5 minutes of just talking real quick. So the winner of the grand final in 1 week's time. What's the time? It'll kick off in about half an hour for 1 week. As long as there's no poor reffing, it's just decided by a good, fair, even contest. The winner will most definitely be in my top 10. Regardless of if it's the Panthers or Broncos. Last night's game, very disappointing. This is the only negative thing that I'll say in this video. As someone who's watched a lot of rugby league, maybe your casual fan may not have been able to notice as much, but in the first half, like the Warriors, the Broncos were so far on top of them. It was unbelievable that the Warriors only went in behind by 12. The Storm Panthers game and the Storm Broncos game, sure, the Storm, both games ended up getting pretty much slaughtered, but in the first half of both games, they were right in it. They were matching the intensity of the Broncos and Storm. All they had to do was basically, second half, get the first try, easily. Either result could have ended up being a Storm win. The Warriors last night, the second half started and they actually were a lot closer to the Broncos. I think it was a combination of the Panthers lifted and I think the Broncos weren't quite at that same intensity. But they were in it, behind by 12 points, and the forward pass. People are raging about the refs. I don't so much blame the refs because someone like Reece Walsh flying down the line, like they can only keep up and sort of pick up on stuff like that so much. I've been saying it for decades now. The video ref should be able to rule on incredibly blatant forward passes. It's been ridiculous. I reckon now they'll change that and they'll bring it in for next year. I've read an article that said they're trying to, they've been trialing or contemplating bringing in a ball tracking to be able to rule, but it's still in its early stages. But for something as obvious as last night, like they don't even need to announce it to people. My personal thought for a long time has been they've got the video ref in the headset of the ref. Just watch it, and anything that is just so incredibly obvious, especially when it comes down to line breaks where the touchies and the refs are running down trying to keep up. All he has to do is just say, "Hey, yep, forward pass there." Just blow the whistle. The ref doesn't have to explain himself. He's just be like, "Oh yeah, one of the touchies caught it." Like they don't even need to announce that that's what's happening. But yeah, and then I don't think the Warriors, like they were matching the Broncos. They'll go on set for set. The field position was, I think the Warriors may have actually been a little bit on top. I don't think they were going to win that game, but that just removed pretty much any possibility. It was ridiculous. And then the only other one negative thing to talk about from that game, the sin bin. Okay, the Warriors, sure. I mean, I can't argue with the sin bin. Even though I don't think the Broncos player was ever going to get to that ball. I think the Warriors fullback was always going to get that ball and take it over the dead ball line. But in the first half, Katoni Staggs, that Warriors player, I can't remember which one it was. I think it might have been the guy who got sin-binned. He was literally a centimetre away from scoring. Literally. So if Katoni Staggs doesn't make contact with him, illegally before he's caught the ball, I think it's a very, very safe assumption to say he scores that try. So when I was watching it and the video refs talking it out, said, "Oh yeah, there's illegal contact here." So I was like, "Okay, what's it going to be? Penalty try or sin bin?" When it was neither, that blows my mind. Like, that's the sort of thing that makes me angry. Not, touchies and refs not noticing something at at very high speed. That was just unforgivable, if you ask me. And again, that was the sort of thing that I said it to my housemate watching the game. I said the Warriors needed something like this. That should be a sin bin. That this could change the game. No sin bin. Didn't change the game. And even then, that good on them. They still were right in it in the second half, and then they get robbed again by another non-call. So, yeah, at the end of the day, I think the Broncos would have been too good. Regardless of, even if it's a sin bin, even if it gets called a forward pass, we'll never know. And that's pretty disappointing, especially if you're a Warriors fan. Obviously, I'm a Sharks fan. I thought I should put something NRL related in the background. But also, I think it's going to be a better grand final. I think the Panthers would have just annihilated the Warriors. So, for neutrals, yeah, I think we're going to get a much better grand final. But you never know. It's I thought in 2011 when the Warriors sort of got to the grand final and were massive underdogs, I thought they would get slaughtered. I think off the top of my head, I think it was 20-12 in the end, which is for how good that Manly side was and for how fairly average that Warriors side was. Like, that was a good grand final. Pretty much the one specific thing I remember from that grand final, I think, was Glenn Stewart deep in their own half, just putting like a cheeky little grubber kick in. I can't remember who caught it. I don't think it was for himself. I think it was for someone else. And I don't know if they scored directly off that, but that was like pretty game changing. But yeah, so Broncos Panthers should be a very good grand final. All right, next up, I'm going to give a nice big shout out to the 1998 North Sydney Bears. Now, on paper, it looks like there's absolutely nothing remarkable about that side at all. They came 5th on the table, and bang bang, lost both their finals. Season's over. Yeah, nothing spectacular at all. But while looking through all the stats and numbers to make this video, I discovered a couple of very interesting, impressive stats about them. One's complex, and it will get covered in part 2 because it relates to another team with the finals included results table. But the other one is pretty simple, easy. So up until this season, so from 1998 to 2022, the most amount of teams that any team had beaten in the one season was 15. And the North Sydney Bears were the first team to do that. So in 1998, there were 20 teams, so it was much easier to do that then because you had more teams. So the Broncos and the Storm also did it. The Broncos had to do it with a finals game, whereas the Storm and the Bears both did it in the regular season, and they both got their win against the 15th team in the final round. So for those that don't know, the North Sydney Bears are no longer in the competition. They were only in the competition as the NRL for 98 and 99, 2 seasons. Then they merged with Manly to create the Northern Eagles for 3 seasons before, I don't know the exact details of what happened, but Manly's sort of kicked them to the curb and just become the Manly Sea Eagles again. And the Bears have only existed in the New South Wales Cup, one of the second tier competitions. So yeah, I don't know full details behind that, but I think that's quite impressive that a team that was only in existence for 2 seasons held a record for 25 seasons, despite, well, not being a very, they weren't a bad team, but obviously, I think it was for they had to merge for financial reasons. Yeah, so they weren't a great team. Like you'd think, like, the Broncos, which they did in the end. One of the top teams of that year would have been, set the record. Yeah, which they did. But North Sydney Bears, they were joint owners of that record for 20, 25 years. And until this year, Broncos. So There for a lot of there were 20 teams in 98. Then that went down to 17 in 99. And then that went down to 14, I believe, from 2000 through to 2006. No, 14 for 2 or 3 seasons. And then I do have all this written down somewhere, but I've got a pretty good memory. And then the Rabbitohs rejoined the competition in, I think, 2002, 2003. So then it was 15 for a few years. And then from 2007 through to 2022 is when there were 16 teams. And during that time, there were a few teams who beat all 15 teams. So in the end, there were like 5, 6, 7 different sides who had beaten 15 teams in a single season. And yeah, this year, with the inclusion of the Redcliffe Dolphins, the Broncos were the only team to beat all 16 teams. So they are now the sole owners of that record. Yeah, that'll do for that. Also, another shout out to what I call the best worst team definitely in NRL history. I think probably in rugby league history. The 2005 Newcastle Knights. If you've got a fairly good memory like myself and you watched a lot of games, especially the Knights games in the second half of that season, in my opinion, they were the best team. They finished last. They had an incredibly bad first half of the season. They finished last, but in finishing, like when that season finished and it went into the finals, they were the best team of the competition, in my opinion. So I might sort of go into detail and explain that in part 2. It's just, it's pretty funny, if you ask me. Alright, so what motivated me to make this video was the Penrith Panthers winning the 2023 minor premiership. I probably, if they didn't do that, probably wouldn't have bothered. But then if they went on to win the grand final, then I probably would have put this together, because I don't think people realise what the 2020 to 2023 Panthers have done is insane. Like, it's insane. I doubt, like, win or lose in the grand final, it's still insane what they've done, and I don't think another team will ever come close to matching it. But I'll break down the numbers and go into detail about what's so crazy about what they've done in part 2. But even just in part 1, seeing their ladder finishes, they're all up there high for 4 straight seasons, which is crazy. I think it's also all the more impressive because it wasn't a gradual build-up. They had a few decent seasons from 2016, 17, and 18. I remember they made the finals in the bottom half of the 4, so between 5th and 8th, and they won the first week of the finals, each one, but then they got knocked out in the second week, so they didn't make any grand final qualifiers. So a solid team, but nothing completely remarkable. And then 2019 had a bit of a shocker, missed out on the finals. They finished 10th, I believe. So, they had a little down, and then just boom, straight up, and have been there for 4 straight seasons. I'm not going to talk about what went into them improving so much. Players, coaching staff. It's not what this video is just about breaking down the numbers, and that's it. Alright, so yes, out of the 413 NRL teams that have competed, I put together a ladder that'll be the top 50. Originally, I wasn't going to do that many, but while putting it together, I found out that the 50th team with the regular season, were the 2015 North Queensland Cowboys, who were quite a good team. And so I thought, you know what, that's a sign that I'll go top 50. Okay, so this is slightly drunk Ryan. I'm at a friend's house. I don't have the good microphone, so this might sound terrible. I'm sort of like, I just want to get this first part out, so I'm finishing it off now. I'm getting a little bit lazy. I was going to put all the premiers and the minor premiers who weren't in the top 50. I was going to put them in Excel as well and put that in. I just couldn't be bothered, to be honest. It's just too much effort. Couldn't be bothered. I'm just going to screenshot it, crop it from the Word document, put that in. If you don't like it, couldn't care less. Yeah, I just want to get this out so I don't have to. Good, tomorrow I'm going to be hungover. Life's going to be painful. So yeah, so here it is. Just I'm out of here. I'm having another bevo. All right, it's Drunk Ryan here again, or Drunk Homestar Ronnie. So I've just roughly put together all this top 50 ladder. So I'm going to show the full version, which possibly you'll only be able to see on a laptop or a computer screen. And then next to it, because I'm super lazy, I put the screenshot cropped part of the Word document. I didn't realize that I'd already put in the Broncos and Panthers pre-finals into the final tally. Wait, I just realized. Drunk Ryan is a little bit drunk. Obviously, that's their finals that's their final ladder position. So obviously that's why I put it in, because this is the regular season top 50. So I'm going to shut up. I'm going to keep trying to finish this video so I can get it out and not have to worry about it tomorrow when I'm hungover. And then in a week or two, when I do the finals, the ladder positions with finals results included, that's when, yeah. So just ignore Drunk Ryan. I really don't want to be doing this video right now while I'm a little bit like on the bevos. I just want to like blast some tunes, and I'm gonna have to blur that out. I haven't been swearing. Apparently, swearing gets your videos like less likely to be seen. So I tried very hard to not swear on this. I'm just gonna shut up. Here's the ladder. Have a look. I am going to after like a minute or two, so you can see it better, I will show the top 25 and then the bottom 25. And then I'll show the premiers and minor premiers who didn't make the top 50, and I'll show that close up as well. I'm out. I need another beer. All right, that's enough talking now. Let's just get straight into it. That sort of intro, in quotation marks, took a bit longer than I thought, but so I'm just going to get straight into this without any mucking around. So here we go. First, Storm 2021. That's quite impressive. What is also impressive is Panthers 21. You know, in a season when you can't even finish top of the table, yet you're still second on the overall table. That's pretty funny if you ask me. So funny little stat. I've got my little notes section here, but that's just sort of very basic. A little stat about the Storm of 2021, which not many people may realise. So I haven't 100% looked through to confirm this, but I'm fairly sure it is true. I'm fairly sure 2021 is the only year where a team only lost to two other teams. There were a few, like the Storm of 2007. I know they lost to three teams, and I know they lost to three separate teams. So Eels 2001, Bulldogs 2002. Haven't 100% looked into it, but I just know that the Storm, I'm fairly sure they all lost to at least three teams. Storm of 2021 only lost to the Eels and the Panthers. And funnily enough, though, the Rabbitohs of 2021 only lost to the Storm and the Panthers. So in the same season, you had two teams who only lost to two other teams, and neither of them won the grand final. So that's quite incredible, if you ask me. So yes, what else we got here? You got Eels of 2001, who were the highest placed team that did not win a grand final. Bulldogs of 2002, As we know, they got their points stripped off them and ended up coming last. What else we got? So yeah, the Rabbitohs of 2021 finishing third on the ladder and still finishing so high on the overall is quite incredible. You got some very good teams there. A lot of high finishes. I don't think there's anything too other interesting facts like the Storm and Rabbitohs of 2021. I'm having a quick little look here. The Storm of 2021 also won 19 games. They lost 2 out of their first 3 games, and then went on a 19-game winning streak. And then the Eels brought that to an end. Yeah, so some of these you can't directly compare them. Anyone from 2001 and 2000 because they played an additional game. So it's sort of they're higher up, but if any team below them also gets an extra 2 games, yeah. So that's you can't directly compare them. It's just sort of like a general thing. Yeah, same with the Broncos of 2000. So yeah, there you have it. I'm looking through, nothing too much stands out. Get down to the bottom here. So yeah, there you've got Cowboys in 50th place. So basically 50 out of 413. This is basically like an overall top 2. So anyone on this chart here has kind of finished it's like they've finished in the top 2 overall out of 16 teams, which is quite good. Some of these, for example, the Cowboys of 2015, once you factor in their finals wins, they end up much higher on the ladder the finals included ladder that I'll do in the next video. So then we get down to the bottom. Now, I don't want to name and shame any teams, but just for a comparison, I thought I'd put the 2 worst teams. Number 412, it's not too hard you can look it up and find out for yourself. It's not that hard. Quite a few other teams only had 3 losses. It's their atrocious for and against that really put them at the bottom there. And then 413th. Now this is a funny one. I'm sure if it's your team, I'm sure you'll realise that without me even needing to say anything, that this is your team. At the end of the day, it's a team that's won a grand final, whereas there are quite a few teams in the NRL era. There are quite a few other teams who haven't even won a grand final. So, you'd probably, you've had one bad season, but you've had a good season. So that's probably better off than, of the, I'd say 5, 6, possibly 7 teams, current teams who have never won a grand final since it's been the NRL in 1998. So this team, 2 years previously, they made a grand final qualifier. So they finished 4th. They didn't finish in the top 4, but they finished 4th in the finals. The next season, so the season in between the grand final qualifier and this very, very bad season, they won their first 4 games of the year. They were top of the table by themselves. No other team had won 4, so they were outright leaders, not just with points differential. And the team who ended up being premiers that season lost their first 3 games of the season and went on to win the grand final. And this team went on to come last, which is truly, truly remarkable, if you ask me. And then this season they've had a bit of a shocker. But hey, lots of teams have had shockers. I can't remember. I don't know if there were lots of injuries. Like there must have been something something strange about. They must have just had a shocking run with injuries. I don't particularly remember, to be honest. I think I just wasn't watching many of their games that season. So here we've got, because they weren't, I thought I would put down every minor premier and premier who weren't in the top 50, because there's quite a lot of them, as you can see. So this is I couldn't even give you an example of where they fit in the overall. I dare say, so the top ranked one here, the Knights of 2001, I dare say there could be as many as 10 other teams who are in front of them. So, from 51 through to 60. So, so that's obviously teams who, had half decent seasons, regular seasons, but then just, bombed out in the finals. So, yes, we've got, the Knights. And also, so all of these, none of these teams hit that 20 win milestone. So, and there's some good teams here. It's of particular interest is the 2018 Roosters, who were the lowest ranked minor premier and premier to win the minor premiership with only 16 wins, which other teams have done that, but then they've failed to go on and win the grand final, specifically, the 2005 Eels. And 2014, also the Roosters. So you've got some good teams there, the 2001 Knights. Although they also had the extra 2 games played. So that's hence why they have the during the regular season. Hence why they have a large amount of losses there. So at the bottom here, we've got, in terms of lowest placed table finish, in terms of how many wins, your West Tigers of 2005. But then they went on and won 4 out of 4 finals. So that definitely bumps them up on the finals adjusted ladder. And yes, so there you have it. Oh, also, I include teams that have never won the grand final. I included their best seasons, if they weren't in the top 50, their best seasons on the regular season, and also what their best season was with the finals adjusted season. So as you can see, who have we got here? The Titans. I put the Titans' best 2 seasons. And the Raiders. And yes, so as you can see, the Raiders made a grand final in 2019. Had a good side. They were very, very unfortunate not to win. That's in terms of calls going against a team, I would put that in the worst grand final I've seen. In saying that, even if those calls didn't happen, one call in particular, it's possible the Roosters would have won anyway. So it's just one of those things you'll never know. Actually, I would put it on the same level as the Storm and Sea Eagles in 2007, where Crocker just absolutely demolished Brett Stewart. I could not believe it wasn't a send-off, at least a sin bin. I don't think it was even a penalty. That was ridiculous. And if he gets sent off, Melbourne don't win that grand final. I'm very confident. Those two are the 2 worst reffing in grand final instances that I can recall. So that's it. There you have it. So the next video will be the finals included results, which makes for a much different order, because some teams looking at you, 2009 Dragons. Finished top of the table. They're in that top 50, and then just absolutely bombed in the finals. So yeah, so this is just like a little. It's a guideline, see how teams went in the regular season. But when it comes to seeing who's the best of the best, it's the next video that will give you a much better, a much clearer picture. So yeah, I'll end that there. The grand final is in 6 days. I think I might even do like a little just video of what I get up to that day, because as far as I'm aware, it's the best day of the year. I like to, get on the beers nice and early, get warmed up, go to the beach, kick the footy around. It's always a good time. And then in the following, few days after that, I will make the next part when we've got the final result. And because I can't, I suppose I can make the table now as it stands, but when you're this close to the end, you may as well just get the final one in, and we can see where the Broncos and Panthers end up on that table. So yeah, all right, that'll do. And if you like this video, then keep an eye out for part 2 in about a week and a half.